Welcome to Today in Prophecy Daily News in 15 minutes or less. As first story, FBI arrests former Deputy Chief of Staff for New York Governor Kathy Hochul for acting as an agent of the Chinese Communist government. Gee, what a shock. Linda Sun, a former high-ranking aide to New York Governor Kathy Hochul, was arrested alongside her husband Christopher Hu on Tuesday following a federal raid on their Long Island home earlier in this year. The arrest, confirmed by the FBI, came after that raid earlier in the year. The FBI conducted a pre-dawn raid on the $3.5 million Long Island home. The lavish 5-bedroom home, located in a gated community called Stone Hill in Long Island, was searched thoroughly by agents, though it remains undisclosed what was found. Sources told the New York Post that the search warrant was issued by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Brooklyn, although everybody has remained silent. Sun has had a long career in various government roles across New York State. Her tenure includes working under Governor Hochul and former Governor Andrew Cuomo. Remember him? In September 2021, she was appointed Deputy Chief of Staff to Hochul. At the time, she was the highest appointed Asian American in the administration. She left her executive chamber role after 15 months and took a job as Deputy Commissioner for Strategic Business Development with New York State Department of Labor in 2022. However, she left state service last year following allegations of misconduct. And according to sources familiar with the matter, the misconduct was so serious that it had to be referred to law enforcement. So I don't think it's much of a surprise. What surprises me the most with this story is that the government or a government agency would actually be willing to arrest somebody for being a Chinese spy when we have the southern borders that are completely blown open, and we have Chinese nationals in here, we have Islamic terrorists. So there must still be a few good people that are working at the top that are saying we need to deal with this. However, this next story out of the Wall Street Journal, Beijing-backed trolls target U.S. voters as election draws near. Chinese government-backed trolls are targeting U.S. voters ahead of the 2024 presidential election, assuming fake identities of politically engaged voters on social media to promote divisive narratives around issues including gun control, racial inequality, and the Israeli-Hamas war, according to new research. The propaganda push, which researchers attributed to a prolific influence network known as Spamiflage, that has been previously linked to the Chinese government, has sought to undermine confidence in U.S. elections. I mean, I look at this and go, okay, probably I'm assuming this is true, that's actually happening with the Chinese government, with their spamiflage, trying to control the election or manipulate the upcoming election. My guess is that they really want Commie Kamala and Chinese Tim Walz to be president and vice president. The last thing they want is Trump, who will stick it to China, quite frankly. So I look at this and go, gee, it's certainly not a surprise to me. But you know what else they can do is, even if it's not true or not true, they can say, hey, whatever the election outcome, if Trump wins, they'll be able to say, oh, it was rigged. China wanted Trump to win. I guarantee you, China does not want Trump to win on any of these matters. They don't want closed borders. They want a commie United States of America. We have all these radical Marxists that work with the Chinese government, like Governor Newsom here in California and Tim Walz in Minnesota, and now running to be vice president. All right, let's move on from there, because I don't think any of those are a shock, but evil nevertheless. The threats against America are huge. Daily Mail says shocking leak suggests your phone really is listening in on your conversations. I mean, I look at this article and think, you've got to be kidding me. That's shocking? Our phones actually listen to us? Yeah. How long have we been reporting these things? How many years have we been reporting these things? Your refrigerators, you got smart refrigerators, smart TVs, smart appliances. You have Alexa. You got all these different things. Of course they're listening to you. In fact, cars are one of the most programmed instruments to listen to everything that you do and to know everything that you do. Amazing. In fact, I have a program I'm going to be doing on that in just a few more weeks on the Tom Hughes Report with his channel. But you look at this and go, I mean, you think, duh. It's shocking that phones listen to you. Yeah, they're listening to you. Well, let's not stop there because there's more. Maduro orders arrest of rival to quell Venezuela dissent. In other words, Maduro's got some problems, so what do? We arrest the people who are saying, hey, there's a problem. I mean, you arrest the political opponent. Let's go back in our minds, January of 2021. Gee. You look at what's happening now in our own country, and you start to realize, okay, let's go after what happened from 2021 through 2020, early 2024. You start realizing the government will do everything that they can here in the United States to shut down the political opponents and anybody who threatens them. And again, if you just look at this is Venezuela. Then you look at Brazil shutting down X. You look at and then with what's his name, Tim Walz, praising Brazil on X for shutting down X. Talked about that yesterday, but you look at these things and think, man, these things are very real. They want to shut down any threat to the narrative. We watch what's going on over in the UK, what's going on in France. Of course they want to do it because the globalists got to get their power. UNRWA, next story, and of all Israel news, UNRWA U.S. chief denounces Israel's ad campaign against UN agency as destructive and spreading misinformation. Israel holds UNRWA responsible for educating individuals to commit acts of terrorism against Israelis and Jews. Listen, this is a fact. It's been exposed. In fact, when it was first exposed and people like us started talking about it quite some time ago, right after October 7th, said, hey, I mean, as all these different individuals were caught that worked for the UN, UNRWA specifically, the UN was in complete denial. Then finally, it became so evident, the evidence was everywhere, that it was about a month and a half ago or so, 2 months ago, UN finally had to admit, yeah, we've got all kinds of operatives for Hamas that have worked for the UN, and now they're trying to say this is misinformation. No, it's a fact, and they just don't want the truth to get out there. I was, one of my recent trips to Israel, I was in Tel Aviv, and ended up in a conversation with someone over breakfast. Didn't know each other. He asked me what I was doing there, and I told him. And then, and I was there too for a meeting. But then we got into conversation about him. He's Israeli. He's Israeli Jew, and we were talking about October 7. And I said, well, what are your thoughts for what's going to happen when the war is done in Gaza? And he said, oh. Well, it's real easy. I said, what's going to happen the day after? Well, it's real easy. The UN needs to be in charge of Gaza to bring peace there. And I said, the UN? I said, don't you even see in fact, this conversation that I had was before the UNRWA. UNRWA was exposed with the Hamas operatives. And I said, the UN's never favorable to Israel. Oh no, the UN needs to be the ones who are the peace holders. They're the ones who are running everything. The UN needs to be in charge of Gaza. I mean, that's just insane. That's like a suicide mission if Israel were to agree with something like that. But nevertheless, this is the narrative. This is the spin. And no doubt it's just a matter of time before the U.S. will be totally on board with that too. Probably after the election, if Trump doesn't win. Israel says goodbye, also out of all Israel news, to murdered hostages as thousands gather for funeral of Hirsch Goldberg Poland in Jerusalem. Listen, just closing with this sobering news, but a reminder that the war is going on. Also a reminder of this, Israel has to deal with this terrorist problem. They have to. Hamas is evil, Hezbollah is evil, Iran is evil. They've got evil neighbors, they've got evil, I remember talking a while back about Judea and Samaria, who the world calls the West Bank, and talking about how there's problems on the inside. Caroline Glick had reported that. Inside, meaning in Judea and Samaria. They've got these threats of terrorism that are there. Now Israel is starting to work on that problem too, and that problem is huge because they're inside your walls, so to speak, depending on where you are in Judea and Samaria. But you look at that, they're inside. Not only that, but these aren't as large of organizations as Hamas or Hezbollah, and there's a lot more of them, and Israel has to root all of them out. They are evil, planning evil right there in Jerusalem. But listen, what do? We remember that Psalm 122 verse 6, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And what's that really a reminder? The true peace is only going to be there when Jesus comes back. God bless you guys. And listen, join me today to 1 p.m. on the Tom Hughes Report. Also, Lee Brainerd is going to be with me on the app/website exclusive at 2 o'clock Pacific time. God bless.